How did David risk his life in 1 Samuel 24? This is the question that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of 1 Samuel on Walking Through the Bible. Today we're going to be discussing 1 Samuel chapter 24, verses 8 to 15. But before we do that, let's read the passage. If you have a Bible with you, turn to 1 Samuel 24, verse 8. But if you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So 1 Samuel chapter 24, beginning at verse 8. David also arose afterward, went out of the cave, and called out to Saul, saying, My lord the king. And when Saul looked behind him, David stooped with his face to the earth and bowed down. And David said to Saul, Why do you listen to the words of men who say, Indeed, David seeks your harm? Look, this day your eyes have seen that the Lord delivered you today into my hand in the cave, and someone urged me to kill you. But my eyes spared you, and I said, I will not stretch out my hand against my Lord, for he is the Lord's anointed. Moreover, my father, see. Yes, see the corner of your robe in my hand. For in that I cut off the corner of your robe and did not kill you. Know and see that there is neither evil nor rebellion in my hand, and I have not sinned against you. Yet you hunt my life to take it. Let the Lord judge between you and me, and let the Lord avenge me on you. But my hand shall not be against you. As the proverb of the ancient says, Wickedness proceeds from the wicked, but my hand shall not be against you. After whom has the king of Israel come out? Whom do you pursue? A dead dog? A flea? Therefore let the Lord be judge, and judge between you and me, and see and plead my case, and deliver me out of your hand. In our last lesson, we had David running from Saul, and David being presented an opportunity to end this by killing Saul when he came into the cave where David was hiding to do his business. David did not kill Saul, but he did cut off a piece of Saul's garment, an action that still caused his conscience to convict him, because he took a hand against the Lord's anointed. Coming now to verse 8, we have David coming after Saul once Saul leaves the cave. Notice how David addresses Saul, My lord the king. He doesn't call Saul a name. He doesn't disrespect Saul or chastise him for acting ungodly, with the latter something David could have correctly done. He addresses Saul with the respect that being the Lord's anointed deserves. And notice David's position when he addresses Saul. He had his face bowed down to the earth. This again was a sign of respect. David didn't sneak up on Saul with a weapon or in any way threaten Saul. He behaved how he was supposed to in front of the king. Let me ask you, is this how we treat our government officials? So often I fear that some Christians, because of the freedoms that our society gives us to challenge the government, that we take this to the point where we no longer respect the office holders because they do not agree with our political positions. We refer to them as traitors and scoundrels and many other names that are too vulgar to mention on this podcast because of the ungodly behavior that they exhibit. And yet David did not do that here in 1 Samuel 24. In fact, by bowing down to the ground, he actually put his life at risk of either Saul or one of his men simply coming and lopping off his head or stabbing him in the back. Let's think about this the next time we rail against the government, that we remember that government officials, no matter how evil, are God's ministers. They will answer to God for their evil deeds, and we need to let God judge them for that. Our job is to respect the office holder and seek their salvation. Coming back to 1 Samuel 24 now, David asks Saul a question that is meant to shame Saul, which is, Why do you listen to the words of men who say that David seeks you harm? He tells Saul that he was in the cave with Saul and had an opportunity to kill him, but didn't. Instead, he tore his garment in order to prove that Saul's life was in danger and that David spared his life. Even in this, did David's conscience convict him? Yes, but it showed Saul that David did not seek to take his life. Yet Saul hunts David anyway. David then pleads with Saul to let the Lord be judge between him and David. David would not lay a hand against Saul. Rather, he would allow the Lord to judge. What David did here is similar to what the Apostle Paul said to Festus in Acts 25, which is that if David had done something worthy of death, he did not fear to die, But alas, David had not done so, and so knew that the Lord would deliver him out of Saul's hand. And the sooner Saul realized this, the better Saul's life would be. In truth, had Saul been in his right mind all of the time, and had obeyed God, he wouldn't have succumbed to paranoia, to anger, and to jealousy. And if he had been faithful to the Lord, there wouldn't even be a David to chase, because Saul's kingdom would have continued. But Saul had disobeyed the Lord, and so not only was Saul tormented because of sin, he actively had the Lord against him, a battle he was going to lose. What would Saul's reaction to David's words be? We'll find that out, the Lord willing, in the next lesson. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of 1 Samuel chapter 24, verses 16 to 22, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.